The market's plummeting today, responding to growing uncertainty. What President Trump is saying about the economy and the impact of his tariff threats as concerns grow from Wall Street to Main Street. Also in our spotlight, major developments in the Menendez brothers' fight for freedom. Here in Los Angeles, my panel weighs in on what the new district attorney is saying about the brothers' resentencing hearing next week. All right, we begin here with our big story. Stocks plunging on Wall Street today as uncertainty grows over President Trump's tariffs against the United States trading partners. The Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ all taking major losses today after the president declined to rule out a coming recession in an interview broadcast over the weekend. And he also said that his tariffs could bring a period of transition. So joining me now here, Matthew McGuire, foreign policy and international development expert and former U.S. executive director of World Bank Group. So thank you so much for being here with us throughout the day here. And I think we've talked a lot about the volatility of the market, but I think the word you hone in here, rightfully so, is the uncertainty, not only with investors, but with American companies and then American consumers. And they're all seeing that play out on a historic day on Wall Street.
There's no question, and just to revisit the numbers, the U.S. stock market this year has gone down about 5% already. The tech-heavy NASDAQ's gone down 14% from its highs, and yet the European stock market's up about 7 or 8% this year. So clearly investors are seeing some better places to put their money right now. But the challenge we're seeing right now is basic economic policy. There are two big things that the Trump administration has done thus far. One is focus an awful lot on really raising unemployment by firing many federal workers all over the country. That's bad for the economy. It means less spending by consumers, more stress and anxiety by families all over the country. The second thing is this talk about tariffs. And the thing about the tariffs is that it's paid for by U.S. businesses. If they're paying an additional 25% on tariffs just to get needed goods into the country that they can sell to Americans, that means they're not going to invest in new projects. They'll have less money to invest on buying smaller companies, less money to use to hire more workers, and so on. So these real pressures are concerning an awful lot of businesses in America and an awful lot of ordinary citizens just as well.
I want to follow up with how you're watching the markets there in Europe, because as there's some volatility around the world right now, how does their market up 7 or 8% higher, as you said, how does that really impact the United States market, but also the United States standing on the world stage?
Well, I would argue that the real difference is people are looking in Europe and they have a sense of their own growth prospects. People always have projections on that. But what they're confident about in Europe right now, they're not so confident about in the U.S. on, is who has rule of law versus the law of rulers. So right now in Europe, what they're seeing are, if there are free trade agreements, they don't get stepped on or violated by a particular country just throwing on new tariffs to their allies. Here in the U.S., that's exactly what we've seen, unfortunately, is Donald Trump negotiated the USMCA, a free trade agreement with Mexico and Canada, then slapped on tariffs that violated that, then took them off, first for a couple of CEOs from the big automakers who called him, but not on everyone else in that industry, and so on and so forth. And now all of a sudden it's off for another month. And so that uncertainty leads directly to volatility, and it's just what we're not seeing in other parts of the world. People are very concerned about the fact we're seeing it here.
So you touched on the big automakers and the shifting in stance here from the president. The president has not ruled out further exemptions or carve-outs for some major companies, but those are the major companies. What about the ordinary Americans right now that are not only watching the stock market, but they're really trying to plan for the future of their family and their businesses?
Well, I'll give you a very basic example. We just saw all the fires in LA. We saw the floods in North Carolina, more recent floods and fires in other parts of the Southeast. A lot of people are going to build new homes. And so if you're a home builder, if you're a general contractor, an electrician who would be working on those developments, what they're seeing right now is a lot of companies that aren't quite sure which way to go because of all this whiplash. On top of that, lumber is a big input cost for building new homes, as is aluminum, as is steel. All of those things have had tariffs slapped on them. And so if you're someone who's in the building trades or in the home building industry, you're right now a little bit frozen because you don't know what's coming next. Is something going to be included, not included, and so on. What that means is that projects don't get started, people don't get hired, they're not able to go out and hire other people to support them in that work. And it's just a concrete example of how all this whiplash is really not good for a wide range of industries in America.
Certainly, again, that uncertainty. Matthew McGuire, thank you as always for being here with us today and helping us parse out this wild day on Wall Street. I now want to bring this big story to my panel here. Joining us today is ABC News contributor and SiriusXM radio host Mike Muse, former Pentagon Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh, ABC News contributor and national